Hello and welcome to week 10 of the Country Garden Crochet Along, and this week we're going to make our final edge around our lawn, and we're going to be using popcorn stitch again, this time to make a bed of orange and yellow marigolds. So how do we make? Okay, so we're going to start by joining into the next stitch after our tulip panel there. So we go into the next stitch here, and I'm going to join my orange. So I'm going to chain one, and then I'm going to make a double crochet chain. One and two. I'm going to pop a stitch marker in there. Okay, and then I'm going to make a double crochet in the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm not going to complete that last double crochet because I'm going to bring in my yellow, and I'm going to join my yellow to the orange. Okay, and then chain 3. Okay, so once you've done your chain 3 in the yellow, you can cut off the orange because we don't need that anymore. Get rid of that. Push that to the back. Okay, so now we've got our yellow and our chain 3. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, and in the next stitch we're going to make a popcorn. So we start off the same way as we did our tulip popcorns. You're going to make 5 double crochet in the same stitch. 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then pull up that loop and take your hook out. Now, unlike our tulips, this time we're working on the front, so we want to gather the stitch at the back. So go back to your first stitch, and this time your hook goes in from front to back. Then grab that first loop and slip stitch through, and there's your popcorn popping out on the right side. Then chain 1, skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that we're going to make another popcorn. So 5 double crochet in 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull up the loop, back to your first double crochet, hook in from front to back, grab that loop and slip stitch through, chain 1, skip the next stitch and repeat in the next one. So in this section we're making 5 popcorns. I'm going to do it the same way for each. 2, 3, 4 and 5. Pull up a loop, back to that first single crochet, grab that loop, pull through and chain 1. So 2 more popcorns to go. Skip the next stitch and popcorn in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 double crochet. Pull up that loop, back to the first one, hook in from front to back, pull through, oops, chain 1, and last popcorn for this section. Skip the next stitch and final popcorn. 2, 3, 4 and 5. front to back, pull through, and after our last popcorn we're going to chain 3, 2 and 3. Right, now comes a bit of a fiddly part, because we're going to change back to the orange. We're going to change it in the chain. So you're going to chain 3 and then pull through the orange. Leave your yellow attached. Skip 3 stitches, 2, 3, and make a double crochet with your orange. Leave the last 2 loops on your hook. This must be the shortest colour change ever. Pick your yellow back up and pull that through the last 2 loops. Okay, and then I'm going to cut the orange off. So it's a very short colour change on this row. Right, so back to the yellow and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, and then in the next stitch we're going to make the popcorns again. So just like the last section, we're going to be making 5 popcorns, exactly the same way as before. So it's popcorn, chain 1, skip a stitch, popcorn, chain 1, skip a stitch. Get my words out then. And you'll be making 5 popcorns in total. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and I shall see you in a moment. Okay, so I finished that last popcorn, and once you slip stitch through for your 1st and 5th stitch, you're going to chain 3, 2 and 3. And again, now we're going to change colour back to our orange at the end of that chain 3. I'll just bring my orange in here. Okay, and then skip the next 3 stitches, 2, 3, and then double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and we're going to double crochet in the last 7 stitches as well. And that should take us to the stitch before we started our puff flowers. And one more, and last stitch. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 8. So you'll have 8 double crochet in total. And I'm going to cut off the yellow. Get rid of that for the minute. Okay, so that's the end of row 1. We're going to turn. So for this this week there's 5 rows in total. Okay, right, so row 2. We turn, chain 1 and make a double crochet turning chain in the 1st stitch. So we're keeping with the orange. Stitch marker. Right, so we're going to double crochet in every orange stitch, so all 8 of them. Just pull out some more yarn. And there's number 8. And we're going to make a last double crochet around the chain 3 from the yellow. So I recommend tightening up the yarn before you do it, because you want the chain to be, your double crochet to be around the chain and not kind of that loose thread. Okay, so just make sure it's over that chain. I didn't want to finish the stitch, I should have left the last 2 loops on the hook, because now we're going to change back to the yellow. Okay, so join the yellow into that last double crochet and chain 3. Okay, so I'm now going to cut off the orange, and I'm sorry, there is a hideous amount of ends for this week, but the look is worth it. I think it is anyway. Right, so we chain 3, and now we're going to skip the first bobble, and we're going to make a bobble into that chain 1 space. Okay, so that's the chain 1 between your two popcorns. For the chain 1 space between the 2 popcorns, we're going to make another popcorn. So 5 double crochet in the chain space. 2, 3, 4, and 5. But this time we're working on the back side, so we want our popcorns to pop out on the front. So this time, for this row, you insert your hook into that first double crochet from back to front. Okay, and grab that. Ooh, I don't like the look of that. Hang on. Right, keep that chain out of the way, and then pull through. Yeah, pull through. So our popcorn is now sticking out on the front. Then chain 1. Skip the bobble, and we go into the chain 1 space between the next 2 bobbles. Popcorns. I keep getting those two mixed up. And we do exactly the same. And we're going to do that the same for this section. You're going to be making 4 popcorns in total, all between the popcorns in the previous row. The only difference between this row and the row below is which direction your hook goes into that first double crochet of your popcorn. Okay, so for this row, row 2, your hook goes in from front to back and slip stitch through so that your popcorn will pop out on the front, and then chain 1. So I'm going to do those last 2 popcorns in those chain 1 spaces, and I should be back in a second. Okay, so I've completed my 4th popcorn, and now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And at the end of that chain, I'm going to join my orange back on. Okay. So in the chain 3 in the row below, you're going to make a double crochet around that. Then make a double crochet in the top of the orange double crochet, and then make a 3rd double crochet around the next chain 3. Don't finish. Leave the last 2 loops on your hook. This time we can't carry the yellow. It doesn't carry very well for this stitch, so it just looks better if you cut and rejoin. That's what I decided anyway. If you want to carry, that's your choice. Okay, and now chain 3. So I just found that I couldn't hide it enough to be happy with. That could just be me, but if you want to carry, go ahead. But I've decided to cut off and just deal with the ends. Okay, so you chain 3, we skip the next popcorn, and then we make our next set of 4 popcorns in the chain 1 spaces. So exactly the same as we did before. Okay, and remember that your hook goes from back to front in your first double crochet to slip stitch your popcorns closed. So I'm going to go ahead and finish those 4, and I shall see you in a moment. Okay, so I finished that last popcorn, and now I'm going to chain 3. Okay, and at the end of that chain 3, I'm going back to the orange, which I cut off after we finished that middle section. I'll join that in. Okay, so now we're going to make a double crochet around that chain 3 space, around that chain, and then just double crochet in each of your orange stitches. So including that one you made around the chain space, you should have 9 double crochet in total to finish the row. Okay, so I'm going to finish that and I shall be back with you in a moment. Okay, so row 3. So we're going to turn, chain 1 and make a double crochet turning chain in that first stitch. And we're carrying on much the same as we did in the last row. With the stitch marker up. So we're going to double crochet in every double crochet of the last row and then add an extra one in the chain 3. So we should end up with 10 double crochet in total. Da, da, da. Okay, last few. So there's the 9th double crochet, which is in the last double crochet of the row below. Now we need to make the 10th around the chain 3. So just tighten up so it is definitely around the chain 3 and not in a loose bit of yarn. There we go. Because it can be difficult to move it back onto the chain 3 if you do make it around loose yarn. And again, I didn't leave the last 2 loops. So right, so at that 10th double crochet, leave the last 2 loops on your hook because you're joining back your yellow. And chain 3. So I like to chain 3 as soon as I got that yellow joined to stop everything becoming too loose. Right, so back to popcorn stitches, and like the last row we're going to be working in that chain 1 space. So we're going down to 3 popcorns in each section on this row. So in the chain 1, so skipping your first popcorn straight into that chain 1, make a popcorn, and for this row, because we're back on the front, you need to insert your hook from front to back in that first double crochet of the popcorn to slip stitch it closed. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, pull that loop back to that first single crochet, so hook from front to back, grab that first loop and pull closed, chain 1 into the next chain space and make the next popcorn. Make your 5 double crochet, 3, 4 and 5. Pull that loop up, back to the first double crochet, hook in from front to back and slip stitch closed, chain 1, and then our last popcorn in the last chain 1 space. The row starts to go quite a bit faster once you're reducing the number of popcorns you make. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Pull that loop back to the first stitch, oops, front to back, grab that loop, and this time chain 3. And we're back to the orange. I didn't cut off before, so I'll do that now. And then join in here. Pull that tight. Okay, back to this messy middle section. This will look better once we weave in all the ends and tidy it up. Okay, so the first double crochet is around that chain 3 in the row below. Now 1. Now make a double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Oops, I cut there something there I shouldn't. There you go. 1, 2 and 3, and then just pull this next bit of yarn tight, and then we're going to make the last double crochet around the chain 3, and don't finish that last stitch. I remember that time. Right, so we need to go back to the yellow, so I need to cut off from before and rejoin here. And chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to cut off the orange now and get that out of the way. Just pushing all those ends to the back for now. Okay, so as before, 3 popcorns in the chain 1 space. So we skip the first popcorn into the chain 1 space and make 3 of them. So I'm going to do that and I shall come back to you in a moment. Okay, so that third popcorn is finished. You can really starting to see the detail coming through now. These nice triangle pieces we're making. So after our last popcorn we chain 3. And after the chain 3 we change back to the orange. Okay. So our first orange stitch is going to be around that chain 3 in the row below. And then double crochet in every stitch left. So in every orange stitch. So I shall finish that and I'll come back to you at the start of row 4. Okay, so we're at the start of row 4. So I've turned, I'm going to chain 1 and make my double crochet turning chain, and this row carries on the same as before. So the only difference between our rows is that we reduce by a popcorn each time in each of our triangles, and we add a double crochet on. So a double crochet in every orange stitch, and then we'll add 1 extra around our chain 3 in the row below. I've lost count of how many we should have. How many should we have in this row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll have 11 double crochet, including that one around the chain 3 for this row in row 4. And then we'll be going down to 2 popcorns in the triangles. Oops, pull that tight before it comes out. The only problem with this is making sure those ends don't come too loose. If they do start coming loose, you might have to start weaving in at the end of the rows. Right, and double crochet around the chain 3. You do the last 2 loops on your hook and join in your yellow, and there, and chain 3. Okay, I'm going to cut off the orange so it doesn't get in the way. Okay, so skip the first popcorn, and into that chain 1 space we make a popcorn, and we're working on the back side again. So when you're putting your hook into that first double crochet to slip stitch it closed, you're inserting your hook from back to front to close that off, as number 5, pull that up, so back to front in that first stitch, there we go, chain 1 and make our second popcorn into there, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then back to front and slip stitch closed. Okay, so once we finish that second popcorn, we're going to chain 3. So I've done 1, 2 and 3, and then we switch back to the orange. Oops, where's my, there we go. Okay, so make your double crochet around that chain space, sorry, the chain 3, and then double crochet in each orange stitch, and then we'll do a final orange stitch in the next chain 3, and in the last 2 loops of that stitch we'll change colour back to yellow, and then we'll repeat for the next section. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and I shall see you in a moment. Okay, so I finished row 4, I've turned, and now I'm going to start the final row, row 5. So after you turn, you chain 1 and make your double crochet turning chain. And the pattern for this row is we're carrying on the same. So we're going down to 1 popcorn in our yellow sections, and that will finish the triangles. Okay, so you double crochet in every orange stitch, okay, and then we'll make a final double crochet around that chain 3 before switching back to our yellow. Okay, 1 and 2 more, and then pull everything tight before making the double crochet around the chain. Leave the last 2 loops on your hook, I forgot to cut this earlier, and change back to yellow and chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. So only 1 popcorn this time. Okay, so 5 double crochet in 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And we're back on the front side of our work now. So our hook in the first double crochet goes from front to back, and then slip stitch through, and then chain 3. And that's our only popcorn. And then we want to change back to the orange. Where is it? Back over here. This looks so scraggly right now. It'll look good once all the ends are woven in, but right now it just looks scraggly. Right, so I'm going to cut that yellow off and get it out of the way. There we go. Right, so pull that tight, and then double crochet around the chain 3, and then double crochet in each double crochet. And then when we get to the end, we'll make another double crochet around the chain 3, switch back to the yellow in the last 2 loops, and then finish off the row in the same way as before. So chain 3 with the yellow, last popcorn, in the next section, chain 3, change back to the orange, and then finish your orange stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and I'll then weave in all my ends, and when I finish that I'm going to come back and show you what the finished thing looks like. Just finish this last double crochet before I switch, and I will see you when I've woven all those ends in. Okay, so I've woven in all my ends, and as you can see we've got these lovely sets of bubbles, and it's got this lovely 3D effect with our popcorns and our triangles. So I think it was worth it. You will get a little bit of leakage through where those double crochets are made over the chain 3s, but I think that's a good looking stitch. So that's it for week 10. Thank you for joining me, and I shall see you next week for week 11. Bye for now.